Over there, Wales, raining as usual, but one of the hubs of the Industrial Revolution. And in that particular area, one of the densest legal networks of trails in the world, as a direct result of people travelling to work in days gone by. Over here in England, also an intricate network of trails, but due to different landowners, there's different rules. And so it is all over the world, whether you look west to Ireland and onto America, or east to Germany, Georgia and Ladakh. But as we'll find out in this video, if you want to get out there and enjoy the countryside, the opportunities, the trails are vast. I don't want to bore you, but any conversation about e-bikes and access obviously has to start with the different types of e-bikes. Now, pedelecs, especially the ones that are restricted to 25 kilometers an hour, are in general, in most parts of the world, treated just like a mountain bike. However, the higher powered bikes, the S pedelecs, which go to 45 kilometers an hour, and those really ridiculously high powered bikes, which go 70 kilometers an hour and above, are actually treated differently in most parts of the world. Now let's begin this conversation having a look at the UK as an example of different ways you can access the countryside. And obviously let's start off with tarmac roads. After all, anybody can use a tarmac road and you can use it on an e-bike. Bear in mind the different types of e-bike. But not all roads are made equally. Can you believe it? This is actually a county road. It's a legal road in which you can walk up, you can take a dog up, you can ride a horse up, you can ride a bicycle up, you can definitely ride an e-bike up it, you can ride a motorbike up it, and if you've got the skills, you can actually drive a car up it. Now, the problem with places like this, if you don't actually know the legal status of this particular track, then you probably might not use it. And obviously, tracks like this come in different shapes and sizes. This is an incredibly technical one. So if you're super skilled, a great way to test out your skills. I mean, this is challenging. Crikey. As you can see, it's definitely a black. It's also worth noting that all countries have different rules regarding e-bikes on the road, and such things as age limits, speed restrictions, licensing and insurance all vary from place to place. For example, here in the UK, you need to be 14 or over to ride an e-bike, and if you do so, that bike needs to be restricted to 25 kilometers an hour. Cycle paths and small roads are great places to ride your e-bike, and all over the world there are waymarked and dedicated trails. But from there you can actually move on to forest trails, and let's face it, they're safer, they're quieter, less polluted and lots prettier. Now, it's worth bearing in mind that forest trail you're riding might actually be in a forest park or a conservation area or a national park. But the point of this is that protected areas all over the world have different designations and different access. In France, you cannot ride in national parks, whereas here in the UK, because of the landowners and a strong public rights of way network, you can actually ride there. And the same applies to forestry. Now, here in Wales, National Resources Wales have a very open access policy to mountain bikes, whereas in England, as we'll find out later, different rules apply. The point of it all is that even though it's a protected area, it doesn't mean to say you cannot ride your e-bike in it. Landowners then vary all over the world. As mentioned, in the UK, they could be the forestry, in which you can ride e-bikes and mountain bikes on surface trails. Or maybe the National Trust, another large landowner. This place near one of the UK's largest cities, Lee Woods, owned by the National Trust, has a great mountain bike network. Another place we ride is in a protected area, an area of outstanding natural beauty, very close to London. An amazing loop and not too difficult, and again, owned by the forestry. Now, I mentioned earlier the different access laws between the forestry in England and the forestry in Wales. The forestry in Wales is now known as the Natural Resources Wales. Here in England, as you can see, cycling permitted on hard stone tracks only. Now, this sign is in a residential area, goodness knows why. But yes, when it comes to the informal trails, the deer tracks and the sheep tracks, they've not yet adopted those here in England, although rumour has it that that might be about to change in the future. Over the other side of the border in Wales, you can still permit the stone tracks as well, but also they're a bit more relaxed about riding the sheep tracks and the deer tracks. Now, that sign that we saw a minute ago would probably have you think that you can only ride these stone surface tracks. However, that's not quite the case. Even though this is an area of outstanding natural beauty, there are these unsurfaced bridleways in this woodland. Ones similar to this. Now, because they're not waymarked, you probably might not think that you can ride there. And this is the whole business about access to the countryside, is that if you haven't got the knowledge, similar to, say, that road that we saw at the beginning of the video, that very difficult unclassified county road, if you haven't got the knowledge, then that's going to limit where you're going to be riding your e-mountain bike. So I guess the message here is get genned up on it, get reading, and do some research. Then there are the big, wide open spaces, the ancient mule tracks like you'll find in Italy, and the rights-of-way network that you have in the UK. Only bridleways, remember, and it really doesn't matter who owns the land. And these can be quite easy to ride, or really very difficult. Some can be as difficult as a World Cup downhill track. But let's move away from Europe just for a minute. What about some of the less developed e-bike countries? Countries such as the United States of America, which has been pretty slow on the uptake, considering many people think of it as the birthplace of mountain bikes. I think one of the reasons behind that is because there have been some crazy high-powered mountain bikes out there. So yeah, that country has been quite restricted for many, many years. However, in the last few months, there has been some big developments, and a great place to start to see the access in different states is a website called People for Bikes. Great place to see what access you can get in North America. Bike parks are tricky, or at least they can be tricky. Windhill Bike Park here in the UK, used by Chris a lot of the time. It has a load of jumps and berms in a small plot of land, and it's pretty low key. The opposite then, say, to Whistler Bike Park, which has lifts, it has shops, it has coffee shops and bike hire, but where you cannot ride an e-bike. Which is a shame really, because Whistler Valley actually advocate the use of e-mountain bikes in the whole Whistler area. However, it's Whistler Off-Road Cycling Organisation which advocate the use of non-motorised vehicles on the single track trails, hence no e-bikes in the park. I'm just thinking, does this really need to be so complicated? Now this is where the plot thickens. Bike parks and trail centres are great places to go and ride your e-mountain bike. After all, why wouldn't you? You can get yourself a pasty or a biscuit or a bun, and all you need to do is get yourself a car park ticket. I think they're £4 a day here, and the whole trail network is free for you to go and explore. However, just down the road with different landowners at Bike Park Wales, it costs you £11 to go and ride the trails there for a day. Actually, it's not £11 for e-bikes, it's actually £16 for e-bikes. But then, why would you want to pay that much money when you can just go out into the mountains and explore those for free? With this in mind, we should maybe look to the mountains for some of our e-bike adventures, such places as the Porte du Soleil in the Alps, or maybe the Alps in general, which have great infrastructure for e-bikes, charging stations, cafes, waymarked trails. So all you have to do is maybe go and ride a trail, stop for coffee, get it charged, and go from town to town, village to village, city to city. Wow, you can just do whatever you want. It's the wilder riding which is really where we believe the best riding to be had on e-bikes, off the beaten track, away from the crowds, and the world is pretty much waiting for you. Let's turn our attention then to Italy as an example of that wild riding. Remember I mentioned earlier you can't actually ride in national parks in France, but you can do in Italy. Now we've had some amazing adventures, particularly in the Alpes Maritimes, which is an area east of Nice but west of Genoa and just inland. This really is classic e-mountain bike terrain. You can pretty much ride anywhere in Italy, mostly on the mulettiere or mule trails, once used to access villages and farms. There may be some local laws in highly populated areas such as the coast, but by and large the access is great. And the cool thing about this whole area is that there's money being made available to the local authorities to make purpose-built e-bike trails. So the forestale, or the local land rangers, are totally in tune with e-bikers. So there's that huge network there which they totally understand. But also don't forget about the coffee stops and also the e-bike rentals which are available in those areas. Wow, isn't that a beautiful looking trail to ride down? Prime for action. But what you might not have noticed is to the side is a sign. And not only can you not ride a bike down there, nobody can go down there. Keep out, no fun. Now, secret trails is where land access becomes very complicated. Many of them are illegal, some of them are legal because the landowner has given permission, but this can be where you find the mountain bike gold. Yes, some of them can be super technical, and also this is where trail etiquette and local understanding really comes into its own, because there might be some unwritten rules, some understandings which the locals have set up with landowners. So it's really important to get to know what is going on in that area before you start going and venturing on those type of trails. So there you go, land access, huge subject, varying massively from country to country. Let's know your thoughts about land access. What places do you go to? Should there be places that we should be going to explore on our e-bikes? If you want to see some places that we've explored on our e-bikes, have a look at the video down here and down there. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video, and don't forget there's the globe which will take you to some more e-bike adventures.